Hey, happy Friday, everybody. I'm sitting here with Barry and Ruth Kopf, softball coach and his better half from New Jersey. So how are you guys today?
We're fine, thank you.
Well, terrific. So, thanks for
Trying
taking
to angle so you don't see the quarantine roots. But
I gotcha. Well, yeah, thanks for taking the time today to chat with us and, talk about your experiences with America's team. So I guess my first, if you could let everybody know kind of where you've been with America's team overseas.
Probably the greatest trip of my life. We had gone to Italy, and we left on July 31st of 2017, and we landed in Rome, and we spent 3 days in Rome. We spent a couple of days in Florence, and then we continued the north trip to Milan. It was just an awesome trip, and one of the greatest, I guess as a history teacher, one of the greatest comments that you get to hear from the kids is like, "Oh God, I can't believe this art history. This is what Mrs. Tack taught us. This is all about the world culture stuff that Mr. Kopf taught us and what Mr. Villamus has taught us." And it's like the trip actually reinforced what they'd already learned or were about to learn in art history when we came back for the new school year. I mean, going through some of the ancient sites of Rome and the Colosseum and seeing all the artwork that's used that's in the history books today and in the virtual museums that the kids go to. It's just an unbelievable feeling. I can teach history. I can teach about the history of Italy for an entire year, and what the kids learned in 1 week more than triples what I could teach in a year.
Well, awesome. Well, we do both, sports and, those cultural activities. So for this question, we're just going to focus on the softball. What's your favorite softball memory in Italy?
I've got so many of them. The first time I was meeting the coach from the team in Rome that we played, and she was just an adorable little old lady who had no clue what I was saying, but she understood the language of music. They cared about our players. They cared about everything from the time we arrived to the time we left. They wanted to make sure that everything was in great shape for us. The scores all our scores were close throughout our entire trip in Italy. And I guess the second game of each doubleheader, where we split the teams up and we just gave the ball to the kids to play. It was just an awesome feeling because they were.
That's what I liked best too. In the first game, you had one team against the other. In the second game, where you mixed the girls, you just had girls having fun and playing what they love.
Mm-hmm.
And that was terrific. They got to know each other a little bit. They got to hang out with each other afterwards because the parents of the other team always provided dinner. There was always music, and that bridged any language gap, even though most of the other people knew English very, very well.
Yep. Well, great. Well, then let's kind of circle back to the off the field and the cultural and history stuff. And this may be tough for you, but what is your favorite memory off the field?
That's a tough one. It was very, very hot when we were there. The first day when we landed, it was 110, and that was not the real feel. That was the actual temperature. And it was hot throughout our visit. It was an unusual summer. And I think when we went up north, when we had the opportunity to ride a boat and go, where was that? That little island that you wouldn't go on.
I wouldn't go on because
you don't like boats.
I don't like boats.
but I went over with the girls and the parents.
Okay.
It was Lago Miraglia. It was before we went to Como.
Okay.
So I
Might have
think
been
that
Lake
was nice
Maggiore.
because we had a little cooler breeze because we were up in the mountains.
Yep.
But Rome was fabulous. We had so much fun there, and there was so much to see. I could not limit it. Yes, the Colosseum. Yes, the Trevi Fountain. Yes, the Spanish Steps. You can't pick one.
To me, it was the Vatican. Ruth has a friend whose nephew was paralyzed, and the day we went to the Vatican, our tour guide said, when you rub St. Peter's foot and say a prayer for someone, they're supposed to get better. So Ruth didn't come to the Vatican with us.
I hurt my foot.
But when I went to the Vatican, I rubbed St. Peter's foot. The kid actually started walking later that day. So I guess the emotional aspect of it was probably.
And never mind that we're Jewish. It's and he
was probably
the Catholic saints
was probably the greatest thing that that this kid was coming around. The kid's fine now, but I think that stop in Rome at the Vatican was. That to me was the unbelievable sight. As much as I like Rome and as much as I enjoy the Colosseum, there was just something about the Vatican that just struck me. I was in awe of everything there because it took years and years to build, and you walk in this shrine where millions of people go visit every year, and thousands upon thousands go there for their Easter Mass and Christmas Mass and all that stuff. So, yeah, it was just an awesome thing.
Yep. Well, that's terrific. So here's my last question is, what would you say to a parent that is thinking about letting their child travel overseas with America's team?
Do it. Absolutely, 100% do it. And if you can afford to, you go with them too. You can be a chaperone, and then you have the benefit of all the wonderful trips because you provide a tour guide who is wonderful, and there's a bus driver, and the girls learn so much culture. It's not just playing ball, even though that's a big part of it. It's learning the way another country does things. It is so good for people. It broadens their lives. Absolutely, 100% go.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yep. Well, terrific. Well, thank you so much for spending some of your Friday, living the quarantine dream with us.
Is that what day it is?
Yeah, every day seems the same right now, doesn't it?
It does. I'm binge watching